Hey, what's up guys and gals? My name is Nineg. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be talking about The Twilight Zone. More specifically about the first episode from season 3 called 2. Yeah, that's it, TWO, like two people. And I'll tell you what it's all about and why the secret location where they filmed this was so instrumental and how it ties into a location in a video that I made not too long ago. So if you're a fan of classic TV shows and movies, liking, commenting, and subscribing is the best way to support the channel. It's free to do so, but if you want to go above and beyond, Patreon is another great way to support the channel. Links are provided in the description. I love this episode because we have two greats and a narrator. The narrator, of course, Rod Serling, two great actors, Mr. Charles Bronson and Elizabeth Montgomery from, of course, Bewitched, which I've been covering, so make sure to check out the Bewitched playlist. Now, in this episode, it's a futuristic world. There's a man and a woman. They're from opposing sides of a war that devastated everything, essentially, and they meet in a deserted city. Now, they don't have a common language that they share, and she does not trust him because he is her opponent. Now, he's not really aggressive in any specific way that we're looking, but she attempts to kill him, and he goes off alone, of course, to get away from this. But it's obvious that society and civilization has been essentially destroyed, and she begins to reconsider what she did. There is maybe a possibility of a lasting peace here. Who knows? But I mean, Mr. Charles Bronson is great in this episode. I mean, there's no dialogue in this episode until about 9 minutes in. And Elizabeth Montgomery says essentially one word. It's in Russian. Hopefully I can say it correctly. It's prekrasny, and it's Russian for pretty. Now, what's really interesting is where they filmed this episode. Now, I know some of you who are really whiz trivia people in terms of classic TV shows and movies would probably guess that this is MGM Studios because that's where 98% of all Twilight Zone episodes are filmed, pretty much at MGM. But in this episode, they did something completely different. They went to another location not that far down the road, a little bit of a short drive, to Hal Roach Studios. Yeah, that's right. That's where they filmed Laurel and Hardy, The Little Rascals, and other small movies and shorts and so forth. And it's really interesting that they did that. And I'll tell you why that's important. Not too long ago, I uploaded a video where I went to visit the remnants of Hal Roach Studios. I'll put a link in the description, as well as you can just search Nineg, Hal Roach Studios, and you can find the video. I'll also try to link it at the top of this video in case you want to click on it. But regardless, yes, this is the location where they filmed this. Why? Well, as I mentioned, there's a specific reason. By this time, this was 1961 when this episode aired. Hal Roach Studios was essentially abandoned and getting ready to, it's the end of that studio, essentially. It was abandoned and they were going to tear it down. So the exteriors for a lot of the back lots that they had previous movies, TV shows, things like that, those were essentially destroyed. They were gone or just in really, really dilapidated bad shape. So they took advantage of that and they filmed it there at Hal Roach Studios. Of course, they paid them. It's kind of a thing that they do, and they saved a little bit of money. Now, the production crew would not need to do anything to dress up the set or the quote-unquote destroyed city. They just shot it and took advantage of the dilapidated sense of the studio. Now, if you look very closely, the street corner is the exact same spot used in the Our Gang short from The Little Rascals, The Lucky Corner. And that's a little bit ironic, a little cool. And so if you don't take a look or look carefully, you'll definitely miss it. And finally, look carefully at Mr. Charles Bronson's uniform here. His jacket, pants, and boots are from Confederate origin, so going back to the time of the Civil War. At least the look did. And you look at the swirls and the marks up his arm, they're founded on Confederate general uniforms. Now, this was most likely because MGM Studios, which essentially produced, that's where they did a lot of the Twilight Zone episodes, they were trying to save on their budget, and so they reused some of those Confederate uniforms for him. And they had a large storage of these. Now, if you look at Elizabeth Montgomery's costume in the movie, her uniform, it's supposed to be Russian. So that's a little tidbit that you probably like to know. If you're a fan of this particular Twilight Zone episode, let me know. There's a lot of silence in this one, but it works wonders. It's really well done and it's really entertaining to watch. Now, did you know that they shot Hal Roach Studios to get this episode produced? It's really, really cool. I love little tidbits of pieces of information like this. It's really interesting and it really brings alive these classic TV shows and movies. We'll see y'all next time, and don't forget, everyone, to stay positive and be hopeful. Thank you so much to my Patreon supporters, especially my Diamond tier patrons: David D, Jerry D, Citizen Kane 359, Kevin K, Russ C, Sally N, and Vito L. If you want to be on this patron list, make sure to check out the links in the description below. Thanks so much.